Hey everyone, it's Pup Luca and welcome to this week's episode of the Paw'dcast. Now I've got a very special guest this week all the way from Balloo, Perth, so let's turn up the camness. Enjoy. Now please welcome the orange goddess herself, Auksity. Hello.
Hello. Don't forget that, Kacha. I'm the orange goddess.
We're already starting with stepping on our toes.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. I think we're going to kick things off this week with referencing the orangeness, actually. We've mentioned it on previous episodes about flagging and colours and everything. So why orange? Is it flagging? Is it just your favourite? Tell us about the orange.
Orange is my favourite colour, and it always has been. When I did start buying latex and gear, I did look into the hanky code because my rubber mum, as I like to refer to them, was like, be aware of the fact that flagging is still somewhat evident in the fetish community. So yeah, orange is anything, anywhere, anytime, or on the alternate arm, it is just looking. So it's one of the only codes in the hanky code that isn't top or bottom or dom or sub specific for left or right. But it is my favourite colour, so I live and breathe orange.
I only knew one half of the orange, so that was informative for me as well to learn the other side of it.
Yeah. It does fit me flagging. I do dabble in a lot of different fetishes. So when I looked it up, I was like, yeah. That'll do.
Very good. One more thing, you have travelled all the way over from Perth to Brisbane for QPHC. How did you find this weekend?
I had an amazing time. Queensland's incredible. I've been to Queensland twice now. And each time it has started with a pup event. And yeah, I don't know what it is about the Brisbane and the Perth pup communities. They're in sync. Like they just have a very similar pace. And whether it's coming to Brisbane to be around the Queensland scene or being at other events around Australia, we tend to gravitate towards other people from Queensland where we're at. Different events like Geared or Mardi Gras, whatever it may be, or Slick. I do tend to spend a lot of time with people from Queensland, and I have so many like close friends that live here, and I love it.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed as well going to events myself throughout the year that there is a very strong group from Queensland going, and there is the group from Perth is actually growing as well. It's not just one or two here and there; it's actually more and more. And I do also find myself gravitating towards the people from Perth and. With like the big group just mingling at all the events.
Yeah, we just get on. It's just fun.
We do. We're the furthest away from each other as well.
Literally,
Don't mingle very often, but when we do, we stick quite strong together. Like you said, you're part of different fetishes and different groups and that kind of thing. So what are the groups you are part of over in Perth?
In Perth, I've recently stepped down from being vice president of Bears Perth, and I'd been involved with the Bears coming up to 5 years now. I also used to run a small queer fetish group in Perth that it was initially called Fetishmen of Perth, and it was fetish broad and to try and catch as many people that were into fetish as possible. We did rebrand to Perth Queer Fetish to make it more inclusive. And obviously with WAPAR, I'm very involved with WAPAR as well. WAPAR was reinvigorated not long after Fetishmen of Perth was started, and they kind of were operating alongside each other for a little bit there. So, yeah, that's the kind of the main groups in Perth.
Stunning.
Yeah.
It's been the tagline of the weekend, stunning, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, which as Jax will be very upset about. I'm not English at all, but I tend to say it that way, and it's apparently become my tagline. It's my filler word.
I am English, and I didn't say it that much until I met Jax at APHC, and then I have now started saying it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your friends influence your vocab and, your personality, so that's the one thing I've stolen from her. It's nothing compared to what she's stolen from me.
Oh, the drama. Stay tuned for more on that in future episodes.
Since the divorce. She took the kids.
One thing you mentioned is way past of the pup scene over there. I do slip up with pronunciation of that quite often. I often find myself calling it wapa.
Wapa.
Which there are so many pups over there that do the stupid chops thing every time I meet them. So I'm like, well, to me, wapa makes sense because you're like karate chopping people, which I still don't understand why they do it, and they do it. And Garrett has got me about 4 times over the weekend.
Yeah. Chops are just cute little ways to show affection to the people that you're around. So instead of
Whack
having
them in
to
the arm.
interrupt,
Cab.
or the neck,
Not violent.
not violently.
It's like
it is honestly
the lightest tap.
It's so gentle.
I've just realised we're saying this like karate chopping people. It's like we are causing bruises, we are breaking bones, and it's just endearing.
It's actually a sign of affection over there. But it is. That's kind of how it started. I learnt it through Pup Dodger. And it is just, you're cruising through an event, just running around. They might be engaging with someone else, and instead of interrupting them to be like, hey, you just give them a little chop on the arm. And I'm pretty sure Dodger learnt it through Sparky in Adelaide. And it's kind of just taken off.
It's evolved. So it's actually an Adelaide trend that Perth have now taken.
Yeah.
And you're trying to give it to us Queenslanders, and we're just getting confused.
Yeah. Perth does fun things, You just...
They do. I can attest to that. I was there last year for APHC, and it was a great weekend, which you hosted.
I did. That was actually my first hosting gig.
Really?
Yeah.
And I thought you'd hosted other things before. That
No,
was just your first puppy one.
It was. My first gig, period. And I think it created a monster, to be completely honest with you. Bit of a beast on the mic now.
Yeah, but what a camp monster it is.
Yeah. I will admit. I love it. But yeah, that's what chops are. Where did we start with that?
I don't know. We love a tangent on the podcast.
Yeah.
Going in from hosting APHC with barbecue, and then hosting our stage rounds for QPHC this year with Havana Crown, who was our guest last week.
Yes. Camp old bitch she is. Are we allowed to swear in here?
Yes.
Awesome. We're not going to get demonetized?
No, just don't say the strong one.
Okay.
I already had to bleep episode 1 twice because I told Carty don't say it, and she said it twice in episode 1. So
you put it in the front of her mind, love. That's the problem.
No, she would say it anyway.
It's just who she is.
Yep. And I would never change that.
Yeah.
That's why I downloaded the bleep button ready.
Perfect.
So yeah, how did you find the difference between hosting with a Perth Queen and a Brisbane Queen?
I have a general rapport with Barbie, and I've known Barbie for longer. So I did find it a lot easier because I know their hosting style. And being my first event with APHC, I was very nervous, super anxious about it. But knowing that I had Barbie there who would either pick up the slack or like be able to carry that event without me there made me more comfortable, because I was like, even if I don't do a very good job of it, because I've not experienced this before, they would smash it regardless. So I did definitely feel a lot more relaxed knowing that I had Barbie around. I had just as much fun doing it in Queensland though. Havana's camp, we got to meet backstage while they were...
Like 10 minutes before the show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she was a good time gal. We've all kind of adopted their twang since meeting them.
Oh, the good old... No, look.
No, look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good chat. They said that quite a lot on stage.
They did. Good chat was... That actually came up more than I thought it would.
Yeah. I do love that one though. Like when someone gives you a really blunt answer, you're like, good chat. Yeah. Cute. Thanks. Moving on.
Talking about comps as well, you are very familiar with comps personally.
I am.
As a previous Perth Bears and Australasia Bear.
Thank you.
So
the first ever non-binary Mr. Bear Perth and Mr. Australasia Bear ever.
Stunning. Congratulations.
Just to remind people, it's not something I bring up that often, even though, it came quite naturally just then.
It did. Just rolled off the tongue.
Mm. But yeah,
Yeah, how was competing in what was a very male-dominated title as a non-binary person for you?
It is. Bears are still predominantly a male and mask-presenting only space. To be completely honest with you, competing in Mr. Bear Perth, I loved the process. I had such a good time doing so, and I'm very proud of the way that I presented myself and the things that I did through both of my competitions. They were very me. But there was a lot of pushback in Perth as a non-binary person and having femme elements to my presentation that weren't well received, and there was resistance to it. I didn't feel that going into Mr. Australasia Bear. I definitely feel like they were far more accommodating for it. And I guess because of the little hiccup with COVID, I didn't get to compete for my 2021 title until 2022. So there was so
it was still 21, but in 22.
Yeah, so my sashi is still 21, and we still competed for 2021, but it was actually hosted in 2022 because of COVID and it being cancelled because it's hosted in Melbourne. But But I guess because of my involvement within the community for those 2 years before going to compete for Australasia, I guess I had presented myself that way the entire way through. So it wasn't like a shock, or they knew what was coming and it had kind of been established. And I didn't even really think that much into the fact that I was going into it with makeup on and heels and presenting the way that I did, because I was like, this is how I want to do it. This is who I am. And if it cost me the win, it cost me the win. But I would feel worse if I presented more mask or removed femme elements, because it was going to, give them what they want or like fit their mold more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've not had the response that I had in Perth going to the multinational title like I did going for the Perth one.
Oh, that's right. She's multinational.
I am multinational, and I don't let people forget it.
No, you really don't. Over this weekend, I got announced slightly differently than usual, because I'm usually announced Australian Puppy 23. And something happened, possibly involving a beverage, we don't know. But I got announced as Australasia Puppy. And just as that was said, I slowly turned my head round and I could just see you looking at me with
I was
a big
sitting right
grin on
behind
your
her at
face.
the table.
Yeah.
Gave her a little wink.
Well,
I sent her the link for the group chat, so she's part of that now. Yeah.
Oh, there's a multinational group chat
We have a
too.
pin too, love. You'll get one soon. It'll be in the mail.
Love a pin.
Yeah, we all do.
We've all got our pin vests.
We do, yeah.
I think for most pins on a vest, it's very close right now between Jax and Bailey.
Yes, it is.
They're getting close. And we're actually seeing them later, so I really want to count.
Oh,
So I actually know.
that's a good idea.
But then we can know, but we won't tell them.
No, we'll keep that secret.
Because I think that would be fun.
We'll drip feed that to them and just sort of make a little bit of a rivalry between them to
Just
keep
go
them
between-
motivated.
We've been trying to, because Bailey's been with me throughout the year, traveling to all the different comps. We've done Adelaide, we've been to Melbourne, we've been to Sydney. I really want to get back to Perth before I hand over the title again, but it's just finding the time to do that. But I would love to. If I don't, I will definitely be doing it next year as well.
That's one thing we are very aware of in Perth. Like, we understand, because obviously we travel and we know what it's like to get over to the other states, just how much time, but not just time, cost. Like, it costs a lot. We would love to be like dipping and diving between the states. Like, it is a lot more convenient over in the east, but when people do come, we are far more appreciative of them making the effort.
Yeah.
And we do always put on such a good show for them when they do come and make them feel as welcome as possible, because we're also super excited that someone's made the effort to come visit us. So like, we want to show them what we have.
Definitely felt that last year for APHC, because we got there the day before the comp started and it was literally a thing, people reaching out going, this is happening, we're having like a breakfast thing on the beach, come and join us, be all social. And there was like a massive group of us pre-comp and it was really nice to kind of like decompress before it started.
Yeah. And they were all unofficial events. It was literally just,
it was
we
literally
knew
socials.
so many people coming, and we wanted to make sure that they either got to see as much of Perth as possible or felt as welcome coming to Perth, because we really genuinely loved having people coming over for once. It was quite surreal actually being in that space surrounded by all these people that I only tend to see if I travel east, but they were in our home bar at Connections, get to experience what we have in Perth. And I think we did a pretty good job of it.
Fun.
Yeah, when traveling around to all the bear competitions, I would tell them the little boxes in the corner of the room that y'all call a stage, nothing compared to the theatre that we have at Connections.
No.
And everyone would be like, yeah, whatever. But it is a theatre.
Yes. As someone who's been on that stage, yes, I agree. Going from QPHC in the bunker bar at Sporties, having the little, maybe 2.5 metre square stage.
In the corner of a room.
In the corner of a room where the speakers are in front of the stage pointing one way and then to the side pointing the other, and there's a dead zone on the stage. Just like, I think I can hit my track, but I don't know. And then going to Connections and stepping on this giant stage with, there's like moving lights on the back wall. You can step down onto the front stage that lights up. There's full curtains that open and close. It's like full production.
Yep. We do. We have it very lucky there. It's actually one of the things that makes it harder when going to compete for Mr. Australasia Bear, because we're so comfortable having this huge stage to perform on.
Where is that held?
It's at the Laird in Melbourne.
Yep.
And it's a very similar kind of stage set up to upstairs at Sporties. So like, they have lighting and like obviously all the audio for it.
It's not a small, it's a decent sized stage. It's just, I think Connections is massive. Compared to.
We're very spoiled.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite nice. We do a good job over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
This Connections is friendly for all your like kinky competitions, being APHC and
Yeah, so they hosted APHC. We have our Mr. Bear Perth competition there as well. The staff at Connections with Scott with management, and then obviously Barbie organised a lot of the productions at Connections. They've always been very supportive of the pup community, and making sure that when pups do come, they feel safe to be there, because we do have a lack of like kinky spaces in Perth, and it really helped having people that run the venue and are constantly at the venue being supportive of the people there or the pups there.
It's always a great part of the scene when you've got your venue managers and the staff being so open and approachable to the kink scene as well.
Yep.
Because a lot of venues you can find where they don't care that it's there, but you also don't feel very welcome.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then everywhere we've been to this year, when we went down to Sydney Mardi Gras, everyone felt welcome. Marching this year, I marched with Fetish Australia, and ended up somehow being roped into holding the front corner of their giant flag.
Huge flag.
I was like, I'm just here to have fun. And then people were like, yeah, you'll just be at the back. Maybe we'll get you holding like a puppy flag at the back, that kind of thing. And I went in like some black jeans, but I built a sequined non-binary flag skirt into the back of it.
Heaven.
And it was so fun, that swishing behind me. I felt like a wizard.
Yes.
I was like, I am living my Hogwarts fantasy right now. And I was like starting out, and then somehow chatting to Star there, and I randomly just was like, oh, would you help us like hold the flag? And I was thinking, it's big, so I'll just like hold somewhere on the side. And somehow being on the front corner leading this flag. And I was like, there is the person with the little sign, then there's the truck, which people were in, and just like bouncing on the back of the truck, just Brendan on the back of that in like full
latex.
Rainbow latex, bouncing up and down,
Yeah.
swishing. It was fucking camp.
Yeah, girl.
And then being on that one side is the first person they see after the truck. I'm like, oh.
Carrying a 10 meter by 10 meter flag. Like this thing is huge. Yeah. It's
and
a parachute,
person,
love.
and just having the general public cheering so loudly is such a warming feeling.
Exhilarating.
And I've never felt that before. I have marched for several years with QPAR with Brisbane Pride, and you do get people like clapping and cheering you along on the way, but it's more of like a statement piece as opposed to a full like party vibe parade.
That's one thing I enjoyed about, I know everybody was so against it, but when they had to host the Mardi Gras parade in the stadium in Sydney, because I went there last year that they did it, and I marched with...
the COVID year where it was...
Yeah. I marched the last year they had to do it in the stadium, and they obviously get a big crowd for when it's on Oxford Street and like the typical layout, but walking into that stadium and having everybody at once cheering at you it was like hitting a wall of like energy and adrenaline. It was actually so exhilarating. I remember turning to Hayden when I was marching next to them. I was like, is this what I think I understand sport? Is this why people like playing sport?
Just
like
the cheering.
It? Yeah.
Nothing else, just the cheering.
60,000 people or whatever it is in this stadium, and you like step onto that grass and it like hits you like that. It was incredible.
You were just living your like Kylie Minogue on the stage moment.
Yeah.
Just, boom. I am the focal point.
Where's
Not
my
the rest
huge
of these
record
people.
to like be propped up against?
Who are you marching with in Mardi Gras?
I marched with Fetish Australia.
Camp.
Yeah. Our borders opened the Thursday before Mardi Gras for us to be able to travel back east, and I booked that first flight out. There was 3 people on the plane. It was wild. And I managed to...
Great.
It was incredible. Yeah. We had like the entire back section to ourselves. So we had like 2 stewardesses to 3 people. It was crazy. I laid down across the row. They were like, whatever, like make yourself at home. Nobody else is here.
Great.
And yeah, I managed to get a spot with Fetish Australia and had such a camp time doing it. I didn't have to carry the massive banner, but that was the first year that they brought it out. And I remember being like, no, just a little one on a stick for me. Like, I'm not doing that.
I saw photos of it from the year before, and I was like, that is huge.
Yeah.
Like when they get it out, they've got it all folded at one side, and when they actually bring it out, you're like, how is one person carrying that off the truck folded?
Part of me thinks that maybe they didn't realize just how big it was going to be, because it was...
You've typed in the dimensions online when you ordered it, and there's a decimal in slightly the wrong place.
Yeah, or like someone doesn't understand what a square meter is, but...
I've done that.
Yeah, same.
We did it recently with we got a new banner for QPAR, which is like a big final banner that we're going to have at the front of all of our marches, and we have it on the wall, takes up the whole wall at the mosh, which when we were looking at it, it was in feet and inches.
Yeah.
And we ordered it online, and it was 4 foot by 10 foot, and we're like, that's like, my car's
Yeah.
a small car, and we're like, 4 foot is about up to here. So we got the height right because we guessed on height, and then we're like 10 foot. Well, that's only like double that. That's not that long. And then it arrived, and we unfolded it, and we're like, 10 foot is actually really big.
Where are we putting this thing? Like, what are we doing? How are we
don't
propping
know.
this up? Exactly.
Now it's on the whole wall, and we're like, how are we going to attach this to the wall?
Yeah.
Because we were picturing it being what probably would have been 6x4.
Like a photo board.
Yeah. We're like almost photo wall size, and it's like double photo wall.
I will say, though, that first year that they had it, because they had a lot of drones and cameras running around because of the stadium setup, that flag looked incredible.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them would pan like over the crowds as they were marching, or like the groups as they were marching. So like the visual of it looking down on this huge flag that incorporates all the different fetish community flags on it.
Yeah, it's literally like the
stunning.
outline of Australia, and then it's divided with every single
Leather
fetish and
Pride,
kink flag.
Rubber Pride, Pup Pride, like it's all in there. It does look visually amazing, but I remember them unfolding it for the first time, and all of us were like, God, this is going to be heavy, girl. Like,
It was, even though there's like, standing on that front corner, just 10 of you up the side, and then 10 up the other side, and there's about 5 going across the back. So there's over 20 people holding this thing.
yeah.
It's a lot of weight still, even though there's that. And because it's a solid bit of fabric, whenever there's a breeze, it's like grip this thing.
We're going,
grip
girl.
this thing. And I'm like, I am not the biggest person.
No, that would take you away.
I was like, if this gets gust, I'm going up. I'm going in the air. I will have an aerial view of this parade and come crashing down.
That's the plot of Up 2, I believe.
Sydney Mardi Gras up.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Featuring Luca.
Yeah. Anyone from Disney listening, copyrighted us, book us now. Thank you.
Wasn't the dog's name Doug? Like, he's out, Luca's in.
Yeah. Goodbye, Doug. Hello, Luca.
Exactly, yeah.
Stunning. We're replacing, was he a Labrador? Golden Retriever? I always get those two
Retriever,
confused.
I assume, yeah. It's hard to tell. I cried a lot through that movie.
Same.
Yeah.
And as an English person, I feel very offended that I showed emotion to something like that.
I mean, I'm kind of used to it. It was after this, but I remember going to see Inside Out, and I was like sobbing in a movie
that got
theater.
me.
Yeah.
That got me.
Full of children and their parents, and you're there with your like sister who's not that much younger than you, just like sobbing, and like the children are obviously it's going straight over their head, but you're like, this is trauma. Not Bing Bong. Please, not again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bing Bong disappearing. Emotion.
Yeah, we'll go watch the second
We've
one.
gone
and see
from
how
Mardi Gras to Bing Bong.
Yeah, look.
We love a tangent. And a segue. Did you hear the segue noise?
No, I
Cue
didn't.
segue noise.
It's like, I don't have headphones on, so I assume it was fun. Work.
It'll be an edit in later.
Okay.
If anyone listened to last week's episode with Havana, she made a lovely segue noise.
I'm
yeah.
sure she does. She makes a lot of noises out of her mouth.
She does, yeah.
Yeah.
No, look.
Yeah, no, look. Yeah.
The best part is she's in the room whilst we're recording this. We have a little audience today whilst we're recording, and she's going a little red now. She's getting all flustered. Yeah.
Look.
Oh, dear. We've gone really well with content because I've actually crossed off everything on my list that I wrote, and I wrote like 6 points because normally I do 6 or 7 and we get through maybe 3 or 4, and we've covered all the
heaven.
points, which is great.
I mean, I could keep talking. I do love
we've still
hearing
got some
myself
time. Let's
talk.
just have a little chat about random stuff.
Yeah.
So what's your go-to coffee order?
Like every other homosexual,
Yeah.
just a nice latte.
See, no, I'm not. I'm a vanilla latte.
Oh.
The only vanilla part about me is my latte.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, just a nice latte. Sicko for that.
Cam.
Easy
Simple.
breezy. Yeah.
So
I
if
mean,
people ever see you on the street and want to buy you a coffee, iced latte.
yeah.
Yeah.
Please. That'll do it. That'll do me.
Venti, big.
Yeah, the bigger one.
Oh, Venti. Starbucks is a coffee shop we have over here. Do you have any in Perth?
Oh, let's not do this. That's the worst part about traveling interstate. Like
No,
people are
that's
like,
the weirdest
"Where's
thing
Perth,
is...
man? Welcome to civilization.
No, like I loved going to Perth. Like it was a really nice city to like walk through and explore by all the water and everything. But then after comp, I just had a real craving for some Maccas, and I couldn't find a McDonald's near us.
I mean, there's
And
probably
I
one. There's
never
like one on the
realised-
city side, one on Northbridge. But yeah, they're not.
Yeah,
as
I never
frequent.
realised how many McDonald's Brisbane had until I went to other cities.
Yeah. Okay.
Even going to Melbourne this year for Lead Leather, there was only a couple dotted in the city, and I was like,
What do you
wow.
mean? There's one 5 minutes up the road on Hoddle Street. That like we're there every night after any like Southern Hibernation, baby. I am there every night. There's
In saying that,
kick-ons.
we did go to that Macca's
Yeah, girl.
after one of the nights.
It's kick-ons. It's so much fun. Like you go there, I end up just spending more time there than I need to because
It's
I'm
those
just like
kink-friendly venues we
re-catching up.
mentioned before.
Yeah,
Macca's.
exactly. Yeah, the Macca's on Hull Street. As long as they're not mopping, because they won't let you in, and then you have to walk 10 minutes up the road with Hungry Jack's and just hope that they're not doing the exact same thing at the same time.
I have gone through a drive-through before in my puphood.
Stunning.
And
Nothing.
it was an interesting experience, to say the
I've gone
least.
through the drive-through in drag before, and that is heaven because you order with a mic, obviously at the mic, and then you rock up at the door, and you're just like, "Hi," or you catch a reflection in your own rearview mirror, and you're like, "Who's that? Who's she though?"
I've done
Who's
something
she?
else, similar lines of a lot of makeup. 1 year, me and my friend Bella decided to dress up. There was like a street on the sunny coast where it takes about 10 minutes to walk around, and every house does Christmas lights, and it's amazing.
Nice.
So she dressed up as an elf, and I dressed up as the Grinch.
Stunning.
Full like face prosthetic and everything, painted green, and I had like a furry green suit on. And, and we decided before we go, let's go through a drive-through.
Yeah.
And I did the voice through the drive-through, and where the two lanes from ordering merged into one, and I had my window down, there was a kid just yelling at me, like leaning out the parents' car, yelling at me. And it was so good. And we went through the KFC drive-through first just to order like frozen Cokes. And we got to the window. The staff were not amused at
As someone who's
all.
worked in a drive-through before, you do
And they were
take
like, no.
people's orders, kind of have a rough idea of what you think they're going to look like.
Yeah,
And then, like, the
we
game
pulled up
is,
to the window, and I'm full like green.
Yeah.
No, nothing. Hated it. So we did a lap and went to the Macca's next door and ordered some fries. They loved it. People were leaning out the window taking selfies.
Heaven.
It was the stupidest thing.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I need to do more drive-throughs as Luca.
Do it.
And then to end my order, do the
Yeah. You
As
should be
we
doing
have
that
to.
at the mic when you order, just so then they're like, who the hell made that? And then
Yeah.
you rock up and you're just in a pub hood. Like, I feel like they'd be like, yeah, checks out.
the amount of people that think when I do that noise with the hood on that I've actually got a squeaker in the nose.
In your mouth, yeah.
And people think like, because sometimes I used to do it when I would press the nose
And do
as
the
I
noise.
did it. And people would think that I have a squeaker sewn into the nose or something. And people would walk around. And I had to stop doing it because it was getting a thing along we've mentioned before with consent and touching, and even like a hug is you must ask first. I mainly stopped doing that because people started coming up to me and touching my nose
No, we don't want
without asking, and I was like,
No.
yeah, this started off as a funny, silly thing, and I still do the noise all the time. But I had to stop doing it when I touched the nose
Yeah,
because people would come
encouraging
up and
people
do
to do
that.
so.
Even people within the scene who knew me or just saw me do it around, and what other pups as well. Like, you really should know better before touching another pup's hood.
100%.
Please ask us.
Not just because it's their face, it's also a piece of their gear as well. Like, that's
They're
one
not
thing that
cheap.
we struggle with. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's one thing we definitely struggle with in Perth because it's not as frequently seen out in public spaces. If I'm ever out in latex or like any type of fetish gear, there is this like, or my sash. It used to happen all the time in my sash when I would go out. People just want to grab it, touch you, pest you about it. And it's never, oh, what's that, in like a inquisitive way. It's
because they are
"What's that?"
beautifully made sashes.
Exactly. Like my Australasia sash is made by Moose Knuckle Leather. They're an incredible Borroloo leather designer and
Stunning.
craftsman. So hit up Moose Knuckle Leather.
I've been eyeing up their hoods for a while.
Yeah.
I remember they shared one on socials that was a pink and blue hood, and the amount of messages I got from people going, "Oh my god, I love the hood you ordered,"
Yep.
and I was like, that's not mine."
The first black and orange one that they made, people were like, "Is this for you?" I'm like, "No, but if I was to get one, it would be that one."
Yeah, I think Bailey got some when they did like a black and red one, and Bailey was like, "Did you order Moose Knuckle?" And Bailey was like, "No,
That's not the one.
that's true branding."
But yeah, we do have an issue with it in Perth because, yeah, it like, I get it. You see something shiny, you see something pretty, you're intrigued, but just ask.
It's the childish side going, "Oh, pretty, I want to touch." And
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
you may
But
touch
we are grown.
later.
You know better. And if you don't know better, educate yourself. Because it's not the vibe. So yeah, consent is not only mandatory, it's also sexy.
It is very sexy.
Yeah. If it's not a fuck yeah, it's a fuck no.
Yes. And I will put that on a t-shirt for you.
Please.
You're welcome.
I have a little meme that I save of it, and I tend to share it on the Bear socials when we have under Bear parties, just to remind people that you may be in like a sex on premise location, or people are wearing suggestive things, but just being in those spaces doesn't imply consent. So you still need to ask.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, every time. I'm the kind of person that even if I have had interactions with people, I still will ask them when trying to engage in that way again, Because I think it was a British advertisement that they used the analogy of like, would you like a cup of tea? And they used it to explain consent. I don't know if you've seen this
I
before.
haven't seen this, but I will be going to look for it after.
I'll try and find it for you. It's really clever. It's so fun. It's just like little kind of animated stick figures. And they use the analogy of asking someone for a cup of tea and like use it to explain consent. It's really clever. I'll link it to you.
Yes,
and then we'll link it on socials at the podcast.
Yeah, and the podcast _AU.
That one.
Yeah, that one. That one. But yeah, any other questions for Mitch, please send them to us on Instagram or through our other socials. But for now, that's a wrap on this week's episode.
Thanks for having me, Gal.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
We're going to sign off in our usual way of doing the Luca honk. And as usual, my guest does the honk. Now, you may have forgot that was coming by the look that I can see.
I've not practiced one bit.
No. And you get one take as well. This is great. So I will do my usual sign off and then I will cue you to do the honk. Be aware, if you heard last week's with Havana, it's more of a
yeah.
So you'll be fine. But yeah,
I'm
thank you for
listening.
With my special guest all the way from Paw'd, Awksity. I've been Luca, and just remember, be kind, be camp, be kinky, and always...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that was ASMR or just sexual, but wow.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life.
Bye.